Greetings once more, esteemed mayors. Today we're venturing into somewhat uncharted territory, revisiting the often overlooked potential of blue-grade weaponry, and seeing just how far we can push their limits within the current demanding meta of once human. And believe me when I say, the results of this particular experiment are somewhat truly special. A build you absolutely won't want to overlook. We're focusing on the seemingly unassuring blue-grade M416 Scorched Earth. Now, I can practically hear the collective skepticism out there. Why a blue gun, you might ask? Especially when our arsenals can be filled with legendary and epic tier firearms that boast the power to vaporize an enemy in an instant. Well, prepare for a shift. This seemingly modest blue rifle manages to unleash the burst DPS just north of 361,000 and impressively sustains over 200,000 damage per second across multiple magazines. But the real shocker, it absolutely dominates in nightmare content. Yes, you heard that right. A blue-grade weapon not just surviving, but thriving and becoming a wrecking face in the most challenging content the game has to offer. As always, I'll be meticulously detailing the specific armor, modifications that provide crucial synergy, the essential food buffs that amplify its damage output, and the key deviant that unlocks its hidden potential, all working in concert to bring the surprising potential build to life. So, settle in your most comfortable spot, perhaps arm yourself with your favourite beverage and a satisfying snack, and prepare to witness the unexpected might of the blue M416 Scorched Earth as we set out to scorch the very foundations of nightmare content. So first, let's take a look at the gun at hand, the M416 Scorched Earth. It has a 12% chance to trigger burn on hit. Although that doesn't sound like a lot, when using the gun, you'll find that it actually triggers more than what you think it would. And it also gains burn damage plus 10%. So let's take a look at the keyword burn and see what it does. Deal 12% psi intensity as status damage every 0.5 seconds for 6 seconds, up to 5 stacks. The additional damage is blaze element, cannot crit, cannot strike weak spots, and will not decay with distance. Actual factor equals 12% times psi intensity times 1 plus burn damage factor bonus times plus 1 burn final damage bonus. For my weapon calibration, I've opted for an epic grade precision style, granting a significant plus 20% to attack and plus 40% to range, with a manageable minus 10% to fire rate, with a double elemental suffix. While I haven't yet been fortunate enough to loot a legendary version, this epic roll is still incredibly beneficial, given that the Scorched Earth falls into the fastest fire rate category of assault rifles. The minus 10% fire rate reduction isn't a significant drawback, especially when considering the substantial boost to attack damage for those moments when the burn effect isn't actively proccing. Here you can clearly see a side-by-side comparison between the precision and rapid calibrations. As the data demonstrates, after expending 3 full magazines, the precision calibration significantly outperforms the rapid calibration in both DPS and overall total damage output by a considerable amount. It also feels like the burn effect simply doesn't proc as consistently with the rapid calibration compared to precision. You could also experiment with the heavy style calibration. While I haven't managed to acquire one yet, I believe its damage potential might be comparable to or even surpass the precision setup. If anyone out there builds this with the heavy calibration, please do share your findings in the comments below. I'd really be interested to see the results. For my accessories, I'm running range compensator for my muzzle, compact reflex sight for my optic, elite vertical grip for my tactics, extended rifle mag for my magazine, and disintegrating AP rifle ammo. It's not that expensive to make, it just requires Stardust sauce. This gives me a grand total stability of 82, accuracy of 62, a range of 40, and a reload speed of 42. Moving on to the secondary weapon slot, you have two compelling options. My personal preference leans towards the Wildfire, primarily for its unique ability to spread the crucial bullseye mark to multiple targets. However, if your target has an easy weak spot, then I would use the Bingo for the 45% weak spot bonus. 60% chance to trigger the bullseye when hitting a target. There is an 80% chance to spread the bullseye to one enemy within 15 meters. If there are no enemies within the area, weapon damage plus 25% for 10 seconds. When hitting a weak spot of marked enemies, attack plus 3% for 10 seconds, up to 3 stacks. Next, let's take a look at the keyword bullseye. Highlight marked targets will be outlined that suffer from vulnerability plus 8% for 12 seconds. This in turn means they will receive 8% more damage. For my calibration, I'm running a rapid shot style. Fire rate plus 25%, magazine capacity plus 40%, and attack minus 15, with a double weak spot suffix. For my accessories, I'm using multi-brake for my muzzle, compact reflex sight for my optic, small infrared indicator for my tactics, amended pistol mag for my magazine, and tungsten pistol AP ammunition. This gives me stability rating of 79, accuracy of 83, range of 48, and a reload speed of 66. Alright, let's move on to some damage testing. So with my raw damage, the burn ticks when fully stacked was registering between 12,245 and 13,857. After unleashing 3 full magazines, my highest record DPS hit was 48,000, with a total damage output reaching an impressive 996,278. Alright, now after applying bullseye, you can see that my burn ticks when fully stacked are now ranging between 14,561 and 15,994. My highest DPS hit reached 54,000, and after expending 3 full magazines, the total damage output climbed to an impressive 1,097,891. Next up, let's take a look at the Kukuri knife. After activating its perks, my burn tick damage now ranged between 15,464 and a significant 20,856 when fully stacked. My highest recorded DPS hit jumps to 60,000, and the total damage output reaches an impressive 1,132,027. So as we all know, Pyro-Dino is the quintessential Deviant for any fire-based build, and this one is no exception. After applying Pyro-Dino, my burn ticks are now hitting between 15,623 and 17,718 when fully stacked. My initial highest DPS spike reaches an impressive 155,890, and then averages consistently above 110,000 for the remaining magazines. Alright, with everything fully buffed, running Bullseye, Kukuri Knife, Pyro-Dino, Whimsical Drink, and the Hearty Meat Stew, my initial burst DPS hits a staggering 361,520, while it settles to around 200,000 over the course of 5 magazines. My burn ticks are consistently hitting between 22,000 and massive 36,000 when fully stacked, and the total damage output a whopping 5,152,707. Not bad at all for a humble blue grade weapon, wouldn't you agree? Here you can see my stats. I have a weapon damage bonus of 108%, status damage bonus of 218.7%, elemental blaze damage bonus of 122.9%, burn damage of 72%. Damage against elite enemies of 22%, damage against boss enemies of 19.6%, damage against common enemies of 24%, and damage against blaze affected targets of 10%. Here you can see my cradle. I'm running anti-void, tactical combo, status enhancement, deviant energy defense, chaotic faults, elemental sense, marked strike, and blazing detonation. I'm running in a Lunar Oracle server. Your server, your cradle may differ depending on what server you're in. Alright everyone, just a quick moment to say a big thank you to all my subscribers and viewers. If you're finding the content enjoyable so far, please feel free to leave a like, drop a comment, or maybe even consider subscribing, as it really helps grow the channel. With that being said, let's jump right back into the build. So let's kick things off with the food buff, and I'm going to be using the hearty meat stew, used to increase your blaze damage by 15%. For this you'll need 1 DVA powder pepper, 1 piece of any meat, 2 masala, 3 boiled water, or even 3 purified water. Your other food option could be surprise spring roll or mixed fried hot dog. For our drink buff, I'm using Whimsical Drink, used to gain 25% status damage bonus. For this you'll need any flour, but I prefer using bell flowers as it enhances the dish's effects. 1 DVA saffron, 5 purified water, and 5 ice cubes. So now let's take a look at our deviant of choice, and that would be the Pyro Dino. Autonomously attacks enemy targets, increasing target blaze damage received by 39.2%. When attacking targets affected by burn, cause explosion 1 time. This is the main part of the build. Pyro Dino really elevates this build. So now that food and drink buffs are out of the way in Deviants, let's take a look at the armor sets. So for my 3-piece, I'm running the Treacherous Tides. For weapon damage reduction of 10%, when HP is below 70%, weapon damage and status damage plus 12%. And for the HP reduction from low sanity is decreased by 40%. Weapon and status damage plus 10% and further increases as your sanity drops, up to 28% at 30% max sanity. This in turn means that for running these 3 pieces of armor, I receive 50% weapon damage and 50% status damage. For my next set of armor, I'm running 2-piece Blackstone. Cold and heat resist plus 2.5. Upon dealing elemental damage, gain 1 stacks of warm sensation. Elemental damage plus 2% for 2 seconds triggers 1 time every 0.5 seconds up to a maximum of 5 stacks. This in turn means that I would end up with 10% extra elemental damage. And for our final piece of armor, I am running the barbecue gloves for my key armor. Burn damage frequency increases with the number of stacks up to 100%. So now let's have a look at the mods that really bring this build together. For my Scorched Earth mod, I am running Flame Resonance with the burn suffix. Max burn stacks plus 2 with the burn duration minus 20%. With the aptitude effects of burn damage plus 6%, damage against elite enemies plus 4.5%, blaze damage plus 6%, and max HP plus 2.4%. Ideally, I'd get rid of the max HP and replace it with another damage against enemy type. For my Wildfire, I'm using Vulnerability Amplifier with the Precision suffix. The Bullseye adds Vulnerability plus 8%, with the aptitude effects of weak spot damage plus 9%, head damage reduction plus 6.4%, damage against elite enemies of plus 4.5, and max HP plus 3.6. For my helmet mod, I am running Deviations Expert with the Lunar suffix. Range minus 25%, fire rate plus 10%, and status damage plus 20%. With the aptitude effects of the lower your HP, the higher your status damage up to 12%. The lower your HP, the higher your damage reduction against Deviants up to 7.2%. Damage against elite enemies plus 6%. And the lower your HP, the higher your elemental damage up to 12.8%. Ideally, I would like to take a level off of damage against elite enemies and put it onto the lower your HP, the higher your elemental damage, up to 16% and make it to a tier 5. For my mask mod, I am running Blaze Amplifier with the burn suffix. Every stack of burn grants plus 3 psi intensity damage, with the aptitude effects of burn damage plus 6%, weapon damage reduction plus 3.6%, damage against normal enemies plus 8%, and blaze damage plus 2.4%. Ideally, I'd get rid of the weapon damage reduction, get in a new damage against an enemy type, and try and get my blaze damage to a tier 5 as well. For the chest mod, I'm running Ardent Shield with the Lunar suffix. While the shield is active, you gain 15% damage reduction. When the shield exceeds 1000 single instances of damage, they will not penetrate the shield. Aptitude effects. The lower your HP, the higher your damage reduction against Deviants, up to 9.6%. Damage against Great Ones plus 2.4%. The lower your HP, the higher your elemental damage, up to 16%. And the lower your HP, the higher your status damage, up to 12%. Ideally, this is a 16 in total mod. If I could get it to a 17 in total mod, I'd like for it to go in damage against Great Ones. For my pants mod, I am running Elemental Resonance with the talent suffix. For each instance of elemental damage dealt from the previous magazine, the next magazine gains elemental damage plus 1% for 15 seconds, upon reloading up to 24%. With the aptitude effects of elemental damage plus 8%, damage against Great Ones plus 2.4%, max HP plus 3.6%, and status damage plus 6%. Again, ideally, I'd get rid of max HP and get another damage against enemy type in there. For my gloves mod, I'm running status enhancement with the talent suffix. For status damage plus 20%, with the aptitude effects of elemental damage plus 8%, damage against Great Ones plus 4.8%, weapon damage reduction plus 3.6%, and status damage plus 4.8%. Again, ideally, I'd want to get rid of weapon damage reduction, gain another damage against enemy types, and try and get my status damage to tier 5, which would be plus 6%. And last but not least, for my shoes mod, I'm using Rush Hour with the talent suffix. Every 10% HP loss grants plus 4% melee, weapon, and status damage, with the aptitude effects of elemental damage plus 8%, damage against normal enemies plus 6%, status damage plus 4.8%, and damage against elite enemies plus 1.5%. Ideally, I'd like to get my status damage to tier 5 and then try and boost the other 2 damage against enemies as high as I possibly could. Alright everyone, and on that note, I want to extend a massive thank you to all my incredible subscribers. We are so close to hitting the 300 subscriber mark and making fantastic progress towards our next milestone of 500. Your support means the world. A big thank you to everyone who watched it to the very end. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to leave a like, drop a comment, or consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any more of my once human build guides. Until next time, matters, stay safe out there.